So I'm on my knees one morning and I'm just crying because I'm crying out to God. And I'm like, dude, all I want to do is provide for my family. That's it. Nothing more. I just want to provide for my family. And I'm at this point where I'm not making enough to cover the rent payment. And I'm having to borrow money from family members and from friends and things like that to stay afloat. I was working extra jobs, doing handyman jobs on the weekends, delivering pizza at night. And I heard clear as day, God tells me, you're exactly in the right place that you need to be. And I never promised you that you would provide for your family. I promised I would provide, but I never promised that you would. Are you ready to get out of the way? And in a moment, all those passages, all the scripture about facing trials with great joy, in a moment, my tears dried up and this laughter and this warmth came over me. I kind of sniffled and wiped my eyes and I said, okay, God, show me what I got to do. And from that point forward, I started learning and sitting at the feet of some pretty amazing men and shifting my thought process, shifting my mind, getting rid of my excuses, overcoming all of the mental blocks and challenges. And we went from 6 figures in debt to climbing to a 7-figure net worth and haven't looked back. It's been an incredible journey.
Dude, just hearing you say that, I had a very similar experience happen around the same time frame. So I had gotten out of the Army in January of 2008. It was. So, and then I left that and went straight into the insurance business.
Yeah.
So I went in the insurance business because at that period of time, everything was cupcakes and rainbows. And so I went from making my best year ever in the Army, I think it was like $28,000, to in the span of 6 months, being able to make like $80,000 in 6 months after I left the Army.
Right.
And I'm like, holy smokes. Like, I am cooking with grease now. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You know, like, you can't tell me nothing. Like, that was almost the cost of my house that we were living in, right? So we go through that experience, and I'm thinking there, things started cooking. All of a sudden, like, I went a trip. I'm going to Hawaii. And I think I was 23 at the time, 23. I'm like, man, I'm on top of the world, right? And then the bottom fell out.
Yep.
And the bottom fell out after I had left in 2009. I moved back to Jersey with my friends. Depression started to hit, and I'm just there. And I'm just like, but I'm like with all my friends. We were playing football. We were doing all kinds of things, living it up, going to bars, having crazy tabs, just living life, living the dream. It was right around, I remember it was like end of 2009. Me and my son's mom decided, like, okay, we're going our separate ways with different stuff. That happened like early 2009. And then, but 2009, I forgot about how much like guilt and shame I had inside myself. And it was through that experience that the next thing I know, I'm working so I went from making all that money to being at a place where I was making, I think my base salary was like $600 a month. And I'm working 60 to 70 hours a week at a gym. And somebody was offering me like, hey, dude, $12 an hour. You can, like, I think it was like $15 an hour, and you can come and you can help me dig septic tanks and replace them and clean them. And I'm thinking, I'm on top of the world, right? It's going to be so much fun. I'm going to be able to do it. And then I remember, like, I was like, I got to get a job and figure it out. And it was in those moments that I'm just like, hey, what is it that I need to do, because I'm such a failure in life. And that's actually when I got into tech, and I got into tech sales. And it was through those different struggles and different moments where I'm like, this just isn't me. Right. It's not who I want to be. And so I just packed my stuff up and just moved to DC 15 years ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then it was like within a couple of weeks of being here, I met my now wife. And I just knew in those moments, like, hey, I'll do whatever it takes to show you how much I love you and how much I care for you and different opportunities. And then slowly but surely over time, that desire of entrepreneurship never really went away.
Right.
So the question I have for you is that, like, so you go through that space, you talk to God, you have things there. Tell me what happens in that moment. What was one of the defining moments that happened in that phase of life that led you down the path of, because I know you went from being a bank manager to being at a place where you're a commission only, which basically is entrepreneurship, Yeah. Because like, you're like, hey, you don't do nothing comes in. You're hunting in the wild.
That's it.
Not as big. There's not.
Only eat what you kill. Yep.
So tell me about that journey. and what that was like for you.
Yeah, so part of the big transition and the big shift was, and I think you hit on it, but you didn't really quite say it like this, but
Yeah.
it's amazing when the bottom falls out. You kind of feel like you're at this point where you're on top of the world. It's always going to be like this. The income is always going to be there. Well, when the income is no longer there, there's a wake-up call, right? Because suddenly you're like, I still need income. When we were kids, you remember they always ask you, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
They always talked about the job. Well, the problem with that, let's talk about the ugly truth, okay? So the problem with asking what you want to do is we start to become a creature of identity in what we do, and we lose who we are, right? So what we do doesn't necessarily define us. It's just what we do. And that can change. And we're no longer flexible in those moments, right? So there's this one day I'm sitting there and I'm trying to figure out how to make some income to make our house payment that month, right?